I won't work with something that is already made. Some filters are already made. I'll try to maybe go the long way to create a feel and a mood of the video. You could almost feel the texture of the video. You could almost feel the bumps, you know. In paintings you have these brush strokes. You could almost feel the strokes. And for me, I think that it's my signature, it's my kind of artistic brush stroke. You could feel that you're watching a video that I made. New media is a challenge, video is a challenge, you know. For me, I have to actually to look maybe 10 times as much for inspiration, 10 times as much for information, you know, for gestures, for movement, for things, you know. I look maybe 10 times as much just looking at television, what programs are there, what they project. Maybe go to movies much more than other guys will go to movies just to learn the language of cinema, you know. And perhaps you link that with what you read, you know, history of cinema, you know, where that comes from, you know. In my space, basically, I shot that in low shutter speed in color. You almost feel like in the sky. You almost feel like you're flowing in space, and this is huge, big blue that is kind of a calming thing. It's kind of a spiritual kind of color as well. For me, the piece itself is this kind of psychological kind of thing. You know, it's just like I wanted to be out there, you know, kind of exploring spaces, but I didn't want to use a normal form of communication. Maybe it's by speaking, by language and stuff, but I want to speak by performance, by gestures, forms and shapes and stuff. The sound is pretty much kind of sound that you hear in your own mind when it's too quiet, you know. You have the bubbles, you have the water, you have the slow kind of machine sound, you know, just like get you, maybe carry you in some way that you can be alone, you can be with some other people, but at the same time those people kind of become like a background. They just fall away, and you just communicating with one piece, you know. There are no other references. You cannot kind of look at other pictures. They are intentionally didn't put other kind of clips or scene or whatever. So you're just like engaging with this image alone and just trying to be in your mind space. I didn't have role models, artists that actually you go to a museum, to a gallery, to see, to engage with, to interact with. No, you know, that came late 90s. You acquire those skills as you go. And fortunately for me, and maybe other guys as well, we've been fortunate enough to have opportunities to travel. And then you're exposed to this variety of new media, you know, of video art installation and pieces. And in Switzerland, there's a museum of telecommunication, and they had this amazing kind of pieces, installation actually, of video or anything that have to do with new media and technology. And then you come back here and say, wow, you know, these people have been creating this thing for maybe 20 years, 30 years, you know. And one thing that also, in terms of this kind of self-learning thing, also to find out these are dedicated spaces for new media and video. And there are galleries or museums that actually were kind of designed and planned with this kind of new media in mind, you know, because people there have been practicing new media for a while. And you begin to wonder how much you can bring back here.
Mr. Blair believes the war was legally and morally sound, even if they never find weapons of mass destruction. But they'll always be vulnerable to the doubters he warned the soldiers about until he produces some conclusive evidence.
Many people feel the world has forgotten about Africa.
For we are afraid, I'll take everybody back to 2001 September. 2001 September 11, you know, there was this big bang of twin towers in New York. I think that kind of changed a lot of attitude, like it's a global thing, global phenomena. And then you skip that to like 2 years later, maybe a year or 2 years later, when the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, and then a year later you go to Iraq, and you still, like now, still the war goes on.
And morally sound, even if they never find weapons of mass destruction. But they'll always be vulnerable to the doubters he warned the soldiers about until he produces some conclusive evidence.
Many people